A live picture from Capitol Hill, where Congress is in session this week. Earlier, I was there for an exclusive interview with California Senior Senator Alex Padilla. It's a wide-ranging conversation that includes Iran, Homeland Security funding. But we start with the shooting here in Washington this weekend. Senator Alex Padilla, welcome back to The Story Is, and look at this.
Well, welcome to Washington, D.C.,
Yeah,
for the Capitol.
Pretty nice background you got going. It's been an upsetting weekend for a lot of people with what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And now there's this discussion of sort of who's to blame. Yesterday at the podium, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, mentioned you by name and suggested that you bear some responsibility. She quoted you as saying, "People are dying because of fear and terror caused by the Trump administration," and said that is inflaming tensions. What's your response to that?
No, well, it was a quote of mine taken out of context. Pretty sure that was in reference to two United States citizens dying in Minneapolis for being out there exercising their First Amendment rights in the wake of the cruel immigration enforcement that we've seen over the last year. Look, sadly, it's not surprising from this administration, always trying to deflect, always trying to blame others, when this is really an opportunity for the president to sort of rise above. Let him take the lead on lowering tensions, lowering the temperature, and lowering the political rhetoric. But he can't help himself. Instead of doing the right thing, he seeks to attack.
I mean, there's no doubt that the president has used some inflammatory rhetoric. There's no doubt also that some Democrats have too. I mean, how do we put the genie back in the bottle? How do we collectively cool down tensions?
Yeah, look, I think we try to lead by example, and some of it is what we're doing in our respective states and communities and across the country. A lot of it is the work that's done here in the Capitol. Give you one example, the Department of Homeland Security, right? Republicans are quick to point out it's the one department that doesn't have an approved federal spending plan for the fiscal year. The Senate has done its job on a bipartisan basis, not once, but twice, sending over a package to the House. The House has refused to take it up, and in the meantime, the president will be quick to point to Democrats when he's got it all wrong.
But on to that point, now the Republicans are going this process called reconciliation, which is a budgetary process to essentially kick the Democrats out of it, right, and pass it on a party line vote to fund all of the Department of Homeland Security and essentially make no changes to ICE. If Republicans stay together on that, is there anything you can do to stop them?
Look, it is a choice that they're trying to make, right? Democrats have been clear. You know, we want to fund the Department of Homeland Security. We have no objection to TSA, to the Coast Guard, to FEMA, to our cybersecurity agency. But when it comes to ICE and CBP, desperately needed reforms are necessary. But instead of engaging with us on what those thoughtful, proven law enforcement best practices should be, they'd rather go around and try to strictly partisan way to fund these agencies. That's a choice that Republicans are making and why they've led us to this record partial government shutdown.
But if they stay together, there really isn't anything you can do to stop them, right?
It's through the reconciliation process. There is some leverage because not everything can be done through reconciliation. There's strict rules when it comes to budgetary impacts, not major policy changes, and it all has to go through the Senate parliamentarian.
In terms of the war with Iran, you represent California, which has more Iranian Americans than any other state in the country. They call it Tarantulus. And right after this war was launched, we saw thousands of Californians in the streets celebrating the idea of taking on this regime that many of them say killed their family members. Right. They're in agreement with this. What do you say to them?
Well, and I have been talking to a lot of the community leaders. Initially, there was a lot of excitement because nobody was a fan of the regime. There's some bad folks there. But first of all, how we take our country into war is very clear. The president needs to seek authorization from Congress, which he did not do. Number two, so how successful was this first round of this military operation? Because there's been no justification. There's been no clear, consistent rationale. If it was because there was an imminent threat, I thought he obliterated, was his words, their nuclear capabilities last year. So was that the case? Was that not the case? Hard to believe. This administration is not exactly forthcoming or honest with Congress or the American people. And here we are, a couple months later. The regime hasn't changed. The individuals at the top may have, arguably to even a more extreme regime. The people of Iran, who my constituents have family members that are still there, how is their life any better because of what Donald Trump has done? That is completely unclear. And by the way, it's costing us $1 billion a day, and at least 13 service members who have paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Have we lost the war with Iran already?
I think that's militarily to be determined, because we're not done yet. We may be in a ceasefire, but a ceasefire is exactly that. It's a ceasefire. It's not a peace agreement. And in the meantime, the American people are paying the price, not just at the pump, but especially at the pump.
What's an off-ramp that you could support where the president gets to save face, maybe Iran gets to save face, and we move on from this? What does that look like to you?
Don't you think that's something the president ought to have thought about before he fired the first shot? That's the question.
But for you, as a United States Senator, we are where we are. And the Senate has a role in oversight in terms of all of this. And where do you think we go from here?
Yeah, well, I think negotiations should continue. I hope the ceasefire stays and continues until there's ultimately an agreement. Addressing Iran's military capabilities, absolutely a question, not just for the sake of the Middle East, for the sake of the United States, but for the sake of global stability. And then once that happens, as we slowly withdraw from the region, I think the economic stresses will also come down.
Do you think the blockade that's now in effect is actually a good policy in terms of taking away some of Iran's leverage and putting pressure on their economy? Do you think that the blockade is working?
Well, from the outside looking in, it may seem like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Which blockade? Their blockade or our blockade, right? That's how Trump has chosen to respond, a blockade for a blockade. But in the meantime, what is happening? It's not just the movement of money. Is Iran making money here or not? The issue of mines in and through the strait that can wreak a lot of havoc, not just to the ships and the transport of oil and other commodities through the strait, but with that lingering uncertainty, we'll continue to feel the economic pinch